Hello there, YouTube. I am Wheelchair21, and on today's rolling review, we'll be looking at the Tamashii Nation's S.H.Figuarts Gomora from the original Ultraman series. Now, Gomora debuted in episode 26 and would eventually be killed off in episode 27. However, as we can see, the freaking Showa design is splendid, whether it be just from your profile pic alone or the figure we can see through the open window. We also have his cut-off tailpiece, which is somewhat visible in the goddamn open window packaging. Now, the box uses wonderful shades of browns throughout the entire box with this nice holographic red trimming. Really wonderful, really beautiful, very, very nice. Now, honestly, the brown does make it hard to see, like, the Gomora silhouettes on the actual, box art, but we have on the back here some pretty cool, ways to pose and articulate one's figure. You can have it missing its horn, you can have it missing its goddamn tail, you can have them roaring, you can have them fighting your goddamn Figuarts Ultraman. Now, inside, or I should say, once you get the freaking, interior box and, protective cover removed from your packaging, you have your figure, you have your actual area of the cut-off tail, as well as some additional accessories, such as a pair of hands and the removable cod piece for when you take off the horn of said figure. However, there is an additional little slip that promotes the actual Figuarts Dada that is coming out in November. Now, honestly, this is a character I have no intention of purchasing. I know that may be a dismay to some people, but I'm not a fan of Dada. I'm not really a fan of Metron. The two Figuarts that I'm pissed off that I've not been able to get my hands on just yet are Zeton and Mephiles, and I'm already discouraged that Jugless Juggler has been confirmed as a web shop exclusive, so that's kind of another giant middle finger to me right now, since at least out of two of the three that I'm missing and one that I want to get, two of them are exclusives and one of them was retail. So nevertheless, let's get to our Gomora at hand. Now, here we have our Figuarts Gomora out of its packaging. Now, Figuarts Gomora is using its Showa design, and it's the Generation 1 design specifically. Now, the Generation 1 design is literally, like I said, the original from the original series, Ultraman, and appeared in episode 26 as well as 27. It is actually one of the few freaking kaiju to actually defeat Ultraman in the entire run of the series, as well as one of the few characters that is so iconic throughout the line, it eventually became a protagonistic kaiju. It also has inspired Digimon's Greymon due to how pretty much its sculpt of its skull is designed. And yeah, ironically enough, when I compare it to people that have never seen, I would say, the Ultra series long enough or well enough, I actually compare it to not just Greymon, but ideally as its popularity is almost Charizard-like for the Ultra franchise, where Pigmon is the Pikachu of, well, Ultraman, I would suggest. Since it uses our basic design, it uses a lot of nice browns. It tries to really use a lot of the more modern-day colors for the Heisei suits, as well as gives a little bit more of a bit of the Heisei blend into the color and pigmentation of its skin, or should I say the paint that is put on it. Now, in some of the old photos, the suit does come off as being a little bit dull, a little bit more, I would say, maybe beige or gray, but overall it's supposed to be a very dark brown, like almost a mix of different blends of chocolate or different types of coffee depending on how much milk you put in it. And the one thing I've always kind of liked about Gomora isn't just its Greymon-esque head for, growing up with Digimon first, then seeing Ultraman later. It's actually its weird acorn-esque ribbed stomach. Now, originally I thought these weren't ribs or ridges, but actually freaking, spikes. So, if you touched it, it would be very coarse, sharp, and, be a hard way to tackle him head-on. However, no, it's just a weird way that his belly is. It's very wavy, very different, and, like I say, almost acorn-like. Now, some people say it's more walnutty, but, I think it's tomato, whatever you want to call it. However, he also has a cool ridge going down his back of his spine, and then becoming more of the basic Subaraya-esque, tail design of having these weird, ridges and ribs and spinal column, or, tail column where it's very ovular, in a sense, for the actual, I guess, guard rail to the bone, or to, I guess, the ceramic framing, or whatever they used to put in the actual tails themselves to, strap the wires to, maybe. And it does have several points of articulation, as well as has an interesting way to hide the segments of the ball joints with little, segmented rings going on each of the segments to be more of a protective shielding. Because when I originally disassembled the tail in a practice take for the review, I easily discovered that there are little cufflings to hide your actual joint, which is really unique and very cool. I've never really seen that many kaiju do that, as well as I like the fact that the entire tail is practically cemented or segmented, and the fact that this thing is a little bit of a more rubbery plastic really adds to the overall articulation. Now, the legs have several points of articulation due to the fact that the entire, frame is just a bunch of segmented pieces layered over each other to hide the main skeleton for, I would say, its hips, its thighs, its double-jointed knees, all the way down to its ball-jointed ankles, which is really superb. Now, when some people get theirs at a package, the right leg is going to be, just discombobulated, so you're going to want to play around with it till it's to your liking to get it actually the right way to articulate it. The stomach is actually 3 parts, or it's pretty much the crotch and pelvis, your actual stomach, and then your upper breast, which actually looks nice when it closes and looks great when it opens. It's really cool and unique. It's kind of like he's burping or letting out the gut like, a really old fat dude. And I also like the fact that the arms are very segmented, as well as has these cool little spikes coming out of each of his supposed elbow area. Even though the elbow joint is in a segment lower, it's supposed to be right here on the elbow when he's moving, but it's not all there. And the fact that Gomora has 5 fingers is very, very interesting for being an ancient kaiju dinosaur. That it has 5 freaking fingers really does make it show it's almost, gone through a process of a crazy set of evolution. And I think it's also to try to add in a bit of its intelligence, even though at times it does seem very primal, very dim-witted, at least in the early Showa era, before eventually, becoming more of a fierce fighter, a competent fighter, as it became more of a protagonist, in a similar sense to, I would say, maybe Godzilla in some regards. It also has at least 3 different segments in the neck, one where it meets the shoulders, one where it meets the extension of the neck, and one when it actually connects to your tail. So far, it's really wonderful, and I think I really love it more for the effect that it moves smoother than ever having a monster art in hand, and is probably one of the more solid, heavily articulated figures that I've had up to now, or as of date. But the cool thing about it is the fact that we do have some minor accessories, and the fact that they're easy to swap out. So first off, let's talk about our freaking hands. Our right and left hand are supposed to be more like a clenched fist, or at least as close enough to a clenched fist as the suit actor could portray wearing the suit. Now, this hand looks kind of more like a bring it on sort of hand for his left, and his right hand he was able to at least seemingly get in the middle finger a bit more to be a clenched fist, which no one really has been able to explain how it happened. It's probably just that when they casted the suit, this one was a lot more stiffer, and this one was a little bit more looser, so the actor could actually move around when posing. Now, they go on basically like every other figure art to date, with actually being, just ball joints. However, there is the cool ability to remove the horn and place it out with a cod piece, which I did not get out of the packaging, due to the fact that if I drop it, I will immediately lose it. But it pegs in on a square-like peg, and getting it out is the simple part. Sometimes inserting it back in is the difficult aspect. Then finally we come to the tail, where honestly all you gotta do is pop it off, and there you have your ass. Yep, there's his asshole, and there's his Megaton tail attack, where it will fly around and start beating Ultraman whichever way he likes and make him say that his name is Toby. Then aside from that Roots reference, we have the actual area for where the tail is supposed to be cut off. And it's very weird and grotesque in a degree, where it's very meaty and raw once that tail is cut off. It kind of feels like it's one of the things that inspired Toriyama to do that shtick when it came to Dragon Ball and some of his other anime series or manga series out there. But once you plug it in, boom, Ultraman has literally cut off the tail, and now for Darkon, it can do the from that YouTube poop video that someone made like freaking years ago. I can't believe it's still on YouTube, so for those of you out there who know the reference, good on you. For those of you who don't know the reference, I will link it in the description. But It's evaluation time, and for my final evaluation, S.H.Figuarts Gomora is one hell of a figure, being the perfect combination of a figure art and a monster art. The monster art qualities, as one can see, is due to the fact that Gomora is obviously a kaiju, so they try to hide a lot of the joints through segmented layers. However, it ruins the overall aesthetic of it being a giant monster suit, because you can see all these goddamn joints. It obviously looks like just kind of a basic, overly articulated figure. But, you know, it still works due to the fact that since it is more based around a figure art sculpt and design and mold, the joints don't get too hinged and caught on each other in the hips and in your overall shoulders, and they move very smoothly. Now, one issue is obviously with the tail for mine specifically, due to the fact that since it is on several ball joints, it tends to kind of explode and implode, and some assembly is required when reattaching the tail and removing the segmented cut-off tail for display purposes mostly. Now, some people may be a little discouraged by purchasing this Gomora due to the fact that it is the Showa Gomora, meaning that the Super Oscillation Wave is not included whatsoever, due to the fact that it's more akin to the more Heisei alliteration of the original Gomora, which we only got to first see in the Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle series with Rei's Gomora. However, other Gomoras that have appeared and have been technically mostly all protagonistic Gomoras have freaking used that ability. However, in the original series, it didn't even have really beam abilities. It just had the tail, straight up boxing, and burrowing. And people can actually watch it on Shout Factory or purchase the DVDs distributed through Shout Factory's company, Mills Creek. Now, the crazy thing about it is the first Gomora to actually use beams is the Gomora 2, or the Super Gomora, which won. The Gomora 2 was featured in Ultraman 80, viewable on Crunchyroll, and the Super Gomora is from the 6 Ultra Brothers versus the Mega Monster Army, which was a cross-production with Shio before all the legal issues occurred. Now, I'm pretty sure that video is still up on YouTube, so people can easily check it out, or just look around Facebook or several other places to see what I'm talking about, because that Gomora is just as funky as the Generation 2, since I think it used the same suit, but instead of shooting lightning, it shoots rainbows. Nevertheless, though, I do enjoy the figure, and my only con really is just the assembly of the tail, as well as the fact that the tail does affect the shipping, because this thing was only going to be like $70, maybe $80 if I could use SAL registered, but I overestimated that stuff, so since the tail's straight out, extended like a monster art, they charge you almost EMS for this huge SOB. But nevertheless, though, I digress. I like it. I love it. I think people should get it if they love the original vintage Ultraman series, as well as vintage Gomora. But if they don't, you know, just tell me what you don't and do like about it in the comments below. Leave a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you already haven't. Also, please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check me out at Hero Club and Hero Taku. Anyways, this has been Review for Figuarts Gomora, and I'll see you all next time.